Good morning and welcome to our digital event. My name is Arthur Zaczkiewicz and I'm executive editor at WWD. Our event is being sponsored today by SML RFID, and today we're being joined by Dean Frew of SML and Johan Strrenstom of Scandinavian retailer Stadium. We're going to be doing a fireside chat, but without the fire, and we'll share insights on how item-level RFID provides significant value for retailers by providing inventory accuracy. Before we start, keep in mind that we'll have time at the end to do a Q&A, and you can use the chat function to drop your question in at any time, and hopefully we'll get to all of your questions. With that, I'd just like to welcome gentlemen to our event, and we really appreciate and you're taking time today.
Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of questions to start. How it's going to work, I'll ask a few questions just to give the topic some context, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dean, who will have a conversation with Johan, drilling down into more detail about how the technology helped them through the pandemic of last year. And then we'll jump back on with some additional questions, kind of shifting the topic a little bit to buy online, pick up on store, and other trends that we're seeing, and then we'll have the Q&A. So this question is for both of you gentlemen. You know, as the pandemic forced retailers and brands to up their kind of omni-channel approach, what are some of the challenges they face in meeting these new consumer demands and preferences?
Yeah, Dean, you want to go first?
No, you go ahead. You're the one who has to sell stuff, so why don't you talk about it?
Yeah. So we're a Stadium. We sell sporting retail goods and have 180 stores, and we sell about 35 million pieces each year. So you know the size of the company. And when the pandemic hit us, overnight we lost 50% in sales, but we didn't lose 50% of the cost. So it was kind of game on. It was survival mode, trying to handle that. And one thing that in that case that RFID helped us with, we were rolling that out at the time, was being able to serve the customer with the correct stock inventory. There were big restrictions in going into a store. You can only be a few customers every time. So every customer that you would get into the store, you didn't want to lose that customer. You needed to sell the item, and then you needed to have the item, basically. And we'll get into more details later on, I guess. But short, that's what we did. Really try to serve the customer.
Yeah, I think from our standpoint, what we saw across all of our customers was, a unique event where the largest disruption ever in a supply chain took place in the beginning of 2020, and being able to understand what a retailer had in stock and what they were needing to move whether it be the sales floor or back to the warehouse, was essential. And so we found that a lot of our customers were leveraging the technology, item-level RFID, to basically be able to establish a baseline and then move forward rapidly with actions to support the ongoing of their business and opening up of their stores again. So imagine stores, with 5,000 stores, technology being able to establish a baseline within a few minutes and then make decisions off of that was really useful as they went forward. And since then has been something that's been leveraged over and over again. So again, not anything that we as supply chain folks would have hoped for, or inventory management professionals, but the reality is there are some interesting tools that were used to support these retailers.
Dean, you had mentioned one retailer who kind of used the technology just to sort through when they were reopening their stores.
Yeah.
And how did that work? What happened? Can you just share that again?
Yeah, I mean, so we had a number of retailers in certain regions that would basically just shut everything down, and so their warehouses were backed up. Not only because what had happened is, if you think about it, the supply chain emptied out. All the containers that were on boats worked their way into warehouse yards, and so we had one customer that had 50 shipping containers full of product that they weren't sure what was in them because they'd been shut down for months. And they used the technology to immediately just open the doors and scan inside the container to figure out what they had, to be able to figure out if it's winter clothes and it's now May, just go ahead and shut the container and go put it back in a parking space and focus on the things that were summer that they needed to move to market quickly. And, some of the feedback we got is that it was able to save them about 50% of labor cost and labor efficiency because they just didn't have to touch the things that were not needed because the season had passed them by.
So let's fast forward to now. We're facing some inventory issues again. So how can the technology kind of help, merchants and brands can navigate this new landscape?
Yeah, Johan, why don't you answer how you guys are dealing with that, and then I'll kind of talk at a more general level.
Yeah, what we do, basically, what it's all about, if I can take one step back and say what it's all about is making the customer happy, having what they want when they need it. So it's inventory accuracy. That's it, kind of. And when we started this process, we were believing that we had 99% inventory accuracy. But when we started really investigating this, we realized after doing extensive search and that we are at about 70% inventory accuracy. So trying to keep a customer happy with the 70% inventory accuracy, that's just not possible. So what we have gotten with this technology is the correct stock position, the inventory accuracy, to being able to serve the customer. And I can't see that we could do omni-channel, BOPIS, those kind of things without that technology. You can't do BOPIS with 70% accuracy. It's never going to be good. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Dean, do you want to jump in with some other insights?
No, I mean, I think that, Stadium, they've rolled out to 170 stores. They're leveraging the technology to continue to add new use cases. But one of the things that happened during the shutdown is we all, no matter where we are in the world, we all learned that we could shop differently and product could get to us differently, whether it be curbside for buy online, pick up in store, whether it be going into the store and doing click and collect, or whether it be normal shopping, normal in quotes, shopping where you go on site, or basically ordering online and having it delivered. So those four elements of shopping, I think we've, fair to say, we've all gotten more comfortable with them. And all of them, what we've seen across the market is retailers, the fundamental element is not artificial intelligence. The fundamental element is having good inventory data so that you can make those decisions and make commitments to customers. And so as we've gone through and are still going through this adjustment, the focus we've seen from all of our customers is really around, and all of our prospects, is we have to know what we have. And we have to be able then, if we know the item is in the store, we need to be able to go pick it efficiently. And most retailers have not put in place efficient picking technology in the store. And that's those are the things that we've seen give us better inventory accuracy and allow us to go pick. And those two things are the big elements of that's driving the demand that we're seeing for retailers. And Stadium is a great example of where they're embracing the technology of item-level RFID and moving it forward.
Yeah, Dean, could I add on to that? So you're spot on there, and the inventory accuracy. What we discovered during the next step is, so our ERP will say that we have X amount of this SKU at the store, but it doesn't say if it's in the backstock or the sales floor. And we actually found out that a lot of products get stuck in the backstock. So we now, with this technology, we have a replenishment list for the sales floor. So as soon as one item is sold, and that's the last thing on the sales floor, it will end up on a replenishment list, making it possible for staff to go replenish it from the backstock. And when we started this, we could see in our tests, we could see hundreds of SKUs being stuck only in the backstock. And that was really frustrating. We spent a year on developing a product. We produce it maybe in China, ship it around the world, and it gets stuck 10 feet from the customer. That was really frustrating. So when we started this replenishment list, we could actually see the day we started that in our sales figures. It really was a big game changer for us.
Dean,
that's
Dean, I know you. Dean, I think you have some questions to drill in down deeper into that whole process. So we kind of started the conversation already, but Dean, I'm going to turn this over to you to ask your questions.
Great, thanks, Arthur. So Johan, why don't you share a little bit about, you've talked a little bit about why you moved down started this journey. Talk a little bit about first the technology footprint that you settled on, and then talk about one of the fundamental elements, and that is, how do you get tags on items? If you could kind of share with the audience that's here about those two things. So technology footprint, and talk about the tagging process and the unique challenges and how we were able to overcome that together there.
Yeah, the technology footprint, you mean what kind of hardware?
Just exactly, exactly. What have you deployed in the stores and the DCs?
Yeah. So basically what we did was we needed Wi-Fi in the stores. We didn't have that, but so we have Wi-Fi now in all of the stores, and a lot of other projects were happy getting that. So that investment was shared with a lot of other projects. But then basically we have a couple of Android phones with the Clarity app, the SML app, and they are connected to an RFID scanner. And that, regarding the stores, that's the entire hardware, a couple of Android phones and RFID scanners throughout the stores. So you can do this. It wasn't hard or that expensive to get the hardware to kind of work. And then you were mentioning tagging. We used SML earlier for tagging, setting up, putting on the price sticker on the product. So we already had a partnership around that, and for us that made it a lot easier. The process was in place of ordering price stickers. Basically, we switched that a dumb price sticker to an RFID tag we included in the price sticker. So for the suppliers, the process was the same, and we had kind of an education for them, but basically they were doing the same thing, but with another type of price label.
Yeah, and talk a little bit. I mean, you guys have a unique situation where you've got global brands the Nikes, the Adidas, the Under Armour, Asics
Yeah.
that are being sold through your stores, and then you have your private label. And so describe what that looked like as far as when you went into tagging and starting the tagging process, because I know based on some of the audience that's here, some of the retailers have the exact same situation where now that more and more global brands are tagging product, they have a mix. And I think it'd be interesting for folks to understand how you handled that.
Yeah. So what I mentioned earlier, that were our private brands, the brands that we own and have control over. We source tag them, but the global brands, they will all end up at our DC and spread out to our stores. So we set up already today. We or a few years ago, we were putting a price label on every global brand, our unique stadium price label on the product anyway. So what we did now was changing those printers in-house in our DC to RFID enabled printers. So instead of just setting the regular price label, we had an RFID tag in the price label, and there as well it was kind of the same process. We had to set up a connection to SML to solve the EPC and get the correct EPC and so on. But the most difficult thing is the processes in the at the DC, and they were all the same. So it really wasn't that complicated. Switching a few printers, and the process were the same.
Yeah, and what percentage of your product was private label, and what percentage was global brand that came in?
It would be about 50% private and 50% global brand. And today, more and more global brands are shipping to us with their own RFID tag, and then we use that RFID tag. So then we would just place a regular price label onto that product. So we discover this every month. A new label will start. A new brand would ship to us with RFID tags, and sometimes they don't say anything. We just discover it when it ends up at our DC, and now we're reading tags, and that's always great, because then we don't have to place an RFID tag onto them. But it really isn't difficult. We do quality checks on everything that end up in our DC, and we added the process of checking, does this item have an RFID tag or not, directing it to the correct path. So the process was basically there.
Yeah. That's great. And describe a little bit about, there were a bunch of technical things that you've just talked about, but talk about and share with the group kind of what that journey was like through management. I mean, with the discussions early on about a pilot, through a pilot, and the results of the pilot to the decision for rollout, and that, you and Daniel and the team kind of walked through. I think that the audience might find it interesting, just that journey. Some of the folks that are in the audience are well down that path, and others aren't. And so just share a little bit about what that looked like, getting management approval, and what the board looked at for ROIs, and why they decided to move forward, and why they prioritized this above a lot of projects that didn't get the priority during COVID.
Yeah. As you mentioned, this was prioritized during COVID, so we were in the process of rolling out, and this was almost the only thing that wasn't put on pause. We rolled out anyway, because it was that important. But the journey really began with us believing we're having a good inventory accuracy. And when we have that kind of data, a data point saying 99 point something inventory accuracy, we're quite happy. But we started getting feedback from stores that couldn't really be 99%. And we started investigating this. Is it really possible to have 99% inventory accuracy when you have picking errors, errors from delivering to the wrong stores, and theft, and so on? And we started thinking this is probably not correct. So when we started doing that investigation, came to the conclusion that we're at 70%. That's an entirely different data point. And then we knew we have to do something fast and something smart. And so we started looking. We had already looked at RFID, but we choose not to do anything since we thought we were at 99%. But we started looking at technologies and quite fast ended up with RFID is the way to go. And then me and my boss, Daniel, we were sitting down thinking of, okay, we're going to get one chance of proving this business case. How would we do that? And so we started building this demand from above, talking to store managers, talking to salespeople, and saying this is what RFID can do. And then we went to the board asking to get money to do a pilot of RFID and see if we could prove the business case. And at that point, we also knew that we're going to have one shot at this, and we need to get the approval of this. So we just had one metrics to follow, one KPI, and that was inventory accuracy, believing that everything else will follow. If you have great inventory accuracy, sales will follow. You will have reduction in errors and so on. So that was the case, and we got the money to do this pilot. Because if we would have more KPIs, there were always a risk that we would fail on one of those KPIs, not getting the business case approved. So we really got this approval of one KPI, inventory accuracy. And we did this pilot, and that was hard work. And we ran for 3 months or something like that. And those stores, when we started the pilot, they were at about 65% inventory accuracy. And at the end of the pilot, we were up to 97% in inventory accuracy. So it was huge. It was a game changer. And we also started the replenishment that I talked about earlier. And we could see definitely a sales increase. Staff said that earlier customers would come in and ask, where is this? Do you have this in stock? Those questions stopped coming, and we got the staff got more time, freeing up time doing more valuable things. So we saw several positive outcomes, and we got the approval to do a full rollout, and started that. I was really interested in seeing the final results of RFID, and then COVID hit, and there were that influenced everything. So we don't have an actual number of what has RFID done for us, but during the pilot, we could see a lot of benefits. And yeah, we went into COVID, and as I mentioned earlier, we were overnight we lost 50% of our sales. At this point, it was survival mode, and the board were sitting down saying, okay, we need to cut cost. pause everything. RFID, I think, was the only thing that was full steam ahead. And we rolled out that during the pandemic made it not possible to travel. So we rolled out to different countries over team meetings, video conference. And it actually wasn't hard. It is an Android device. It is technology that people are used to. It's not the old scanners. They are difficult and hard to handle, and people are afraid of pushing the wrong things on them. But this is technology they are used to. So 15 minutes of showing and training, and they were out doing inventory instantly. Now we're so at this point, the pandemic has made it impossible to do kind of a check of how did it go, but I could say that we were doing the best year ever in the history of the company by far. And of course, there are other factors in this, and it's impossible to say, but RFID is definitely a part of this. That was long.
Johan, management views this as a key part of the digital transformation, and correct?
Yeah. And the kind of a funny story there that when we started this is today everyone is digitizing their companies, and that's the thing to do. When we started this, it was to solve a problem. We weren't thinking that we were doing some digitalization of the company or doing the next trendy thing. We were solving a problem. Today we have rebranded it as a digitalization thing, but it was actually to solve a problem, and it actually served as a perfect platform to help us digitize our company. So that was great.
Yeah, and I think that it's worth noting when we talk about inventory accuracy in this space, most SKU level inventory accuracies are total count of units, not count of style, size, and color. And unfortunately, style, size, and color is what drives sales, not total number of units in a store. And I think one of the things that was unique about any of these pilots that we do, especially the one with Stadium and Johan and the team, is that the assortment accuracy was off with double-digit percentage understatement and double-digit percentage overstatement in their ERP, and that was causing different problems. They believed they had things they didn't have, and they didn't have things that they think they didn't have things that they actually did have in the store. And so it was causing all kinds of problems. And this is what we see across all of our customers, is getting down to that item level inventory accuracy that is most important for a retailer. And I think Stadium is a good example of that across the 170 stores that have been deployed. They have a unique assortment, very mixed assortment of goods in their stores. A question that I think would be useful we kind of start going down into practicalities. What use cases are you using on the Android device? Again, we're using in this deployment, we're using Zebra handhelds and sleds, RFID sleds. But what use cases are you guys using every day? And where do you see this kind of going on your roadmap, and maybe why?
Yep. So if you would take the Android device, so that's the investment of that is for other apps as well. So this is a perfect part of digitizing and making your company more mobile. So we are in the future we would have a checkout in those Android devices. I'm sure of that. But what we're doing with those devices regarding RFID today, that would be inventory. Earlier we did inventory once a year. So if you had an error in of a SKU, I think I have one, but I have 0, and the ERP wants me to hit 0 before I replenish. So if I think I have one, but I don't have anything, I can't sell it, I will never reach the replenishment level. So that SKU is frozen, and being frozen until we do the next inventory once a year. So that's a nightmare. Now we do inventory once a week, so if this would happen, it still does, because there are thefts and those kind of things. All errors, that you will always get errors in the supply chain, no matter how good you are, but all those errors get reset every week. So that's a huge benefit, and also a manual inventory that took us about 200 man hours. Now we're doing this inventory in 2 man hours, roughly 1% of the time.
And how many items are in a store roughly to go with that 2 hours?
About 25,000 pieces. Yeah. So that's one thing. The other thing we're doing, or on a daily basis, is the replenishment list, making sure that we don't ship things from China to Scandinavia and it getting stuck 10 feet from the sales floor. We replenish to the sales floor. That's on a daily basis, mostly on an hourly basis. And then we also do the Geiger thing. And for those people who don't know what Geiger is, this happened on the first day of the pilot. On the first hour of the pilot, there were a customer coming to me asking for a pair of skates during the wintertime. And actually, she asked the staff member, and she said, "Okay, it's going to be in the backstock. I can't find it here." And when she went into the backstock, I approached her and asked, "What are you looking for?" "Oh, this skate in that size." And I turned on the Geiger, and I could instantly look like beep 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 beep. See, okay, it's over there. Another customer had placed it in the wrong place, so I could find that within 20 seconds, the correct product to her. And when the staff member got back saying, "Oh, sorry, I can't find it," she were already holding it in the hand, being a happy customer. And the store managers say they do these kind of instances happens about 3 times a day. So that's 3 times a day, and there's 365 days in a year, and we have 170 stores. So if you do the math, that's big numbers. And every customer is happy with that. So that's what we do on a daily basis.
I have a question. Is it the Geiger, is that a separate device, or it's on the same device?
That's the same device. That's a part of the app. And it looked to be like a cool gimmick thing, but it turned out to be really valuable for us, because customers try things and they leave it somewhere else. Or store members might do that as well. But yeah, it really is a valuable tool.
Yep.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about, Johan, about where you're going. And, our teams have been working together now, looking at kind of what the next steps are and working your way through the next steps of your journey. Talk a little bit about what you guys see about now that you've made this investment in tags on product, and you've made the investment for the Android devices, and 3 or 4 use cases that you're using every day. Talk about what's next and how you see this just continuing to add value with very little marginal cost.
Yeah. We're doing several things, but what we have invested in is this great platform, digitization platform, you could say, that allows us to know exactly what we have and where we have it. And I would say you can't do true BOPIS without that. What we're doing now is when we take an order online, for instance, we separate the order taking. We know that we have the stock, but where we source that stock from, that will depend on how fast do the customer want this, or is sustainability important, or cost. And it might be that if that's far up in the country, and time is important, then we could say to the customer, you can have it tomorrow if we source it from a store, because we can guarantee that we have it in that store. Or if it's really important, we can say to the customer, if you get down to the store in 15 minutes, you would have that product there. That I would say is true BOPIS, if you would say. The easy part would be to just source everything from our DC, but that has its drawbacks. That's one thing that we do. To back up a bit, when we started this project, we want to do everything with quality, because RFID and inventory accuracy, that's all about quality, and we wanted to keep it simple. So we started with the store. That's where the biggest benefits are. But when we have made these investments in all of those tags, what we're doing now is following that supply chain backwards and moving into RFID tunnels at our DC, so that we could, for example, we're going to have everything going to the stores, moving through an RFID tunnel, and if there is a discrepancy, that would go to a reject station. So today we're pushing still about 1 or 2% picking errors right into the stores. We want to stop that at the DC. And then we're going to follow that supply chain even backwards, moving into inbound DC, that what's coming in from our suppliers. This supplier, we're ordering 100, but we're only getting 95. Then we're just going to pay for 95, for example. And we're also going to find out that we ordered 100 medium, but we got 99 medium and 1 large. That would also go to a reject station. So we made that investment, and now we're going to take advantage of that further down that supply chain, really taking the next step.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting is in what you've done, Johan, is very common that we're seeing across the business and that in the market, and that is leveraging this item level system fabric, which is this platform, to address as many use cases as possible at an item level rather than focused on at a SKU level, which is what I would venture to say all enterprise systems are executing at. And so, the journey for the audience, the journey that we're seeing Stadium go through is exactly the same journey we're seeing with all of our retailers around the world, is that they're focused on moving from a SKU level system fabric, making their decisions off of that poor accurate data, into this item level system fabric that allows you to have a whole number of business case elements that go in. And I'd venture to say that it's really relatively simple. It's not a secret algorithm or anything like that. It's just a system that's easy to use and has all the capability to support the use cases that a real retailer will need to execute on, and to do that reliably over time. So it's fascinating for us to be able to sit where we sit and watch these consistent journeys across the market. So,
hey, do you guys feel comfortable? You want to jump and address some of the questions from the audience?
Yep, go for it. I'm good.
Sure. So we'll just go in, first out here. So we have this one's for Johan, who says many retailers have a legacy environment with many best-of-breed point solutions that don't communicate in real time. How do you get a real-time picture of your inventory when these systems only sync up on a daily basis, if that?
Yeah, the real time. So we don't have true real time either, and that's not the big thing. We went from a year to a week, and if we're talking about replenishment, so we have the cash register. When we sell something, we'll send feedback to SML, the Clarity app, saying this is sold, reducing number. Now I'm being a bit too technical, I'm realizing, but actually we are not on true real time, and we don't need to be there. So we're batching up messages, sending, and the proof of concept, we would do that once every second hour or so, and now we're moving lower and lower into our as close to real time as possible. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
It was and if I could add a little bit. So basically, the real timeness of a system is dependent on what you can actually do with that information. And so we have some customers that are sending us point of sale data every 10 seconds. And what that does is that means our replenishment list for back to front is as accurate as that time period of 10 seconds. At some point, retailers will establish that by adding point of sale data in real time, it does improve the replenishment accuracy and also the BOPUS accuracy for picking. And we have other retailers that are doing cycle counts every day. We have retailers that are doing cycle counts multiple times a day. And we have some retailers that are doing it once a month because their system, their infrastructure can't respond any faster than that period. And so I just mentioned that to add some context to real time means you have to be able to respond to it. So there's a very interesting trade-off that we tend to go through with our clients as to what would actually create benefit and not just add overhead to the beginning of this journey with them.
I would just want to add on to that so we're saying we don't have RFID cash register. We are using, without being technical, we can use the regular cash register, and by a smart system, Clarity would figure out what SKU this is and handle it. So yes, the hardware investment in a POS situation or the cash register is none.
Yeah. Great. We have, actually, this is for both of you. Can you comment on the ease of tagging at source? Is it required?
Yeah, you want me to take that one, Johan?
Yeah.
Yeah, the answer is that 99.x% of the deployments in the world today have moved to source tagging for rollout. When we did the pilot with Johan, and as we do the pilot with other retailers, we tend to tag up in the DC just because the source tagging timeline is usually longer. But when it goes to rollout, the only true way to do it is at source and at the DC for the exceptions like Johan mentioned. And again, we've got retailers that are doing both, and we have retailers that are doing purely source. But, I would tell you that for Stadium, from my perspective, they had a unique situation in that they were retagging product anyway with a price ticket. So it was less of a issue for them to do that. Plus, they manage these global brands, and those global brands already had RFID tags on the product anyway. So you had private label, you had global brands with RFID that just needed a separate price ticket. And then you had other global brands that didn't have anything coming in that needed a stadium-specific price ticket and RFID. And so that's part of what our group does on the tag side of our business, is to go in and really look at engineering what is the right tagging strategy to go forward.
We have a question here. What is your percent of RFID tags in the store that are missed during a weekly scan? And have you compared this miss rate to a physical count?
This question, I would say to compare a count, a manual count with a digital count, that would be kind of comparing, looking at a map and comparing with a GPS navigator or something like that. Because when you do a manual inventory, you're going to have human errors in that. But now I said we were up to 97% in the pilot, and now we're moving above. Today, we won't accept inventories that are below 99.3%. So that's the level we are there, and slightly over there, and we are slowly climbing up that ladder, which is you need to compare that to 70%. That was the history.
Yeah, I would add that we tend to see. Sorry, Arthur. I was just going to say we tend to see somewhere between 92 and 94% item level inventory accuracy with a physical, and so.
Dean, I have just a follow-up question. So during the pilot, is that like a discovery period?
Yeah, I mean, it is for most customers. They do two things. One is to get to the KPIs that are important for the business case. As Johan mentioned, they did a great job of simplifying the KPIs, which is, what does my inventory system say I have versus what does RFID say I have versus my inventory system? The second thing is Johan and the team at Stadium, as most retailers do, they actually build enthusiasm for using a new technology in the store. The associates inside the Stadium stores became some of the biggest proponents of, we don't want to go back to doing things the way we did it before. And so those two things became the objective as we move forward through the process. And clearly there are technical things where we're dealing with, all right, what's the best way for us to integrate with your ERP? What's the best way for us to get your point of sale data, et cetera? But the two key objectives are, getting the process. Every store is a little different. Every retailer is a little different. So how they use this tool needs to be worked through in a pilot.
But you also need the support of the C-suite, right? You need the top to be behind this, right, to do the pilot.
Yeah, but I think the great thing that Johan and Daniel are the two sponsors of the project is they were very factual. We were able to provide them factual data that says it is a fact our inventory is off by 35% at the item level. And here are the ramifications of that. And so, this is not a religious discussion about AI, where we should all be in AI, so let's go invest in AI. We are off by 35% at the style, size, and color level. And it makes the decision with the executive suite relatively straightforward. It doesn't mean it makes it above the cut line, but you're managing by fact here rather than by some type of a philosophical discussion. So.
Yeah, I want to add two things there. One is that, so we challenged that 70% inventory accuracy. I would go out to store manager saying, okay, you're missing one, you don't have any medium of this at the sales floor. And he would say, no, I know what I have. And we did this many times, and we went out, and the system were always right. And the store managers were okay. They really wanted this technology, so we challenged it, and it's not a religion. It's just it's fact. And the second thing that's a bit funny about the rollout is that there were actually store managers calling me, because store managers talk to each other. So they were calling me, trying to bump up their store in the list. They want to be first using this technology, and that's kind of a really good a good thing, showing that they really wanted it. Bribing me with sending a cake or something. No, I'm just kidding. But,
we have a question here. You mentioned RFID as part of your kind of digitalization strategy. And you mentioned theft. Is it used specifically as an anti-theft solution as well?
Specifically for stadium now, it's not used as an anti-theft device, but it makes it much easier knowing what kind of theft do we have here in the stores. What RFID would do is would just show all your pain points, and that has been hard for many of us, but it's a necessary thing. And it really, before we didn't know if it was a truck taking the carton to the wrong store or what it is, but when you have scanned, you could follow, as Dean said, we're moving really into an item level RFID tag. When I can see I have scanned this item here, and it's not here anymore, and it's not sold. Okay, that's a theft. So it made it really easy. We are going to move into that later on, the theft part, and do something with that. But we're not there yet. Now we're doing the DC and RFID tunnels and so on.
Dean, did you want to share any?
No, I mean, I think it's a natural progression as we're going to continue to see. We're seeing movement across the industry to figure out how to use an RFID tag. Maybe it's a sew-in the garment so that it can't be removed easily. So there's a number of things that we've been doing with some retailers over the last 8 years in that space. And we'll continue to see many other use cases leveraging this item level platform of clarity across retailers today.
I want to be respectful of everybody's time, and before we close the session, Dean, would you be able to share your contact information if somebody would want to do a follow-up, or if we didn't get to their question?
Yeah, absolutely. So before I do that, I just want to thank Johan for being part of not only this, but we have a customer advisory board that's made up of some of the top retailers in the world, and Johan has been a key participant in that. Our best ideas don't come from our own team, they come from our customers. So, some of these courageous retailers that have stepped out of the SKU level world into item level, my hat's off to you, because it's a big transition. They put a lot of trust in our team to help them, and I appreciate that. We all appreciate that. So, if you want any more information, you can just reach out at info@sml-rfid.com. Be glad to help you. As again, we've got 5,000 stores live around the world, using 25,000 handhelds, doing 250 million items in stock counts every week. Love to be able to help add to our metric of $1 billion of profit have been added to our retailers, and $1 billion of cost have been removed. So that's my little commercial break there. But there's real benefits here, and again, we're thrilled with the work that's gone on with our partner stadium. So,
Johan, any closing thoughts before we say goodbye to everybody?
It really is a game changer. If I'm going to say one sentence, it's that it's a game changer.
Gentlemen, thank you so much, and thank you participants for joining us today. There'll be a replay link, I think, sent to you guys later. So thank you again. Have a great day.
Thank you, Arthur. Yeah, and WWT team.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.